All right, Kevin back with you for another episode of the $1 Million Relationships Podcast. And today I'm here with Aaron Vaccaro. Aaron, welcome. So awesome to have you on the show.
Thank you very much. I've been looking forward to this.
I'll tell you, a little bit has happened since you and I last spoke. You and I got to connect, and then we had a little bit of lag time in between our first conversation and doing this interview. But I mean, congratulations, because you became a father in that time. So that's
I
pretty
did.
awesome.
Yeah,
And
she showed up a month early, and so she definitely takes after her mother in that respect. But she I think I did have to cancel a few things that were on my schedule for March. So I appreciate you of getting me back on.
well, I totally understand that. Being a father seven times over myself, I kind of get that. And you guys are
Yeah.
kind of busy right now. So, well, I'll
Yes.
tell you, I have been really looking forward to this, and I want to start by giving a shout out to Troy because Troy Heatwell is he an intern? He's an external PR person for you guys. Is that what he is?
Yeah, so Troy's a member of the team at RPR.
Okay.
RPR is our firm I actually use across a lot of all the businesses I work with. We bring them in. Emily Reynolds is a founder, and she and her whole team are awesome.
Well, I will tell you, I haven't interacted with Emily, but I've definitely interacted with Troy, and I will agree with you on that 100%. He reached out, excuse me, to me. I'll take a drink of water real quick here. He reached out to me on the quoted platform, and man, I'll tell you what, he is really good at talking you up, Aaron. And he raved about you, and after what he shared, I was like, heck yeah, I want to make time to have a conversation with Aaron. And
Oh,
so,
good. Well, they're getting the
and
raise then.
and it's always good. I mean, it's not always good. It's great to have people in our lives that just understand what we do and just do that job of just talking us up to the right people and stuff. We can all appreciate having more people like that in our lives. And
Yeah.
so
100%.
so well, I'll tell you what,
Definitely.
let's just dig right in. We're going to have a really awesome conversation today. I'm just going to ask a nice simple question to get us going, and then we'll dig deeper from there. Aaron, what do you do, and who do you serve? We'll start there.
I am currently the president of Singularity University,
Okay.
where I've been for 3 years. Singularity was founded almost 20 years ago
Yeah.
by Peter Diamandis and Ray Kurzweil, who were two futurists and entrepreneurs who had the insight that the world is changing faster and faster because of technology. And
Ain't
not
that the
only do,
truth?
yeah, right, yeah, especially now, yeah, it's funny to be, where we are today was
They were
they
visionaries.
were a bit ahead of the curve, right? They were foretold. Ray Kurzweil is kind of the father of AI predicting or forecasting in
Yeah.
his book The Singularity is Near, which we're named after, came out in 2004 and basically has been pretty spot on if you follow the math of what he's predicted in terms of the increasing capability of computing and AI in particular. But what we do now is basically we do executive education for corporate, government, nonprofit, military leaders to teach them about these technologies. AI, of course, is a critical one that's very popular right now, but we also we cover 17 different technology areas, including quantum, biotechnology, additive manufacturing, space technology, energy technology. So all these tech areas that you can think of as frontier tech or exponential technology, um, we work with businesses and leaders both through our executive program in Silicon Valley, as well as custom learning and consulting engagements that we go in more a bespoke manner for each client to teach them about whatever they're working on.
Okay. All right. And what inspires you most about the work that you get to do and the impact you guys are making, Aaron?
Um, that is a good question, and it's probably changed over time too. So I actually first learned about Singularity before I even started my career anywhere when I was in college in 2012 to date myself. And I heard about Singularity actually on a podcast where Peter Diamandis, the founder, was talking about what they were doing, which at the time, the founding program of SU was it's called the GSP, the Graduate Studies Program. And the inspiration or the insight was that we are teaching students and teaching leaders about traditional MBA topics like finance and accounting and strategy, and we're teaching people still the classics, math and literature and different things, but we're not doing a great job of teaching people about these cutting edge technologies that are rapidly changing the world, and more importantly, have the capacity to change the world and solve what they call the global grand challenges, which are the big problems in the world, like hunger and clean water and poverty and things. So the goal was we should be teaching the world's best and brightest not to be building apps like Twitter or something, but instead building companies that leverage these technologies to solve bigger problems in the world and to make successful businesses at the same time.
Okay.
And I thought that was just the coolest idea ever because it's like I love technology and I love business. I was a math major at the time, physics and then math, and then also doing investing club on the side. And I always loved the idea of entrepreneurship, but I also loved science. And originally I wanted to go into physics to study nuclear energy. But all the theme was one, I loved the entrepreneurship and I loved the power of science and technology to make breakthroughs and solve problems. And so Singularity seemed to be combining those things into what seemed like the best of all possible worlds. And so uh, I didn't go to work for SU or anything, or even get to attend it. I graduated college and started a job at a venture capital firm called West River Group.
Okay.
Um, and coincidentally, years later, West River Group got the chance to invest in Singularity, and it came across our desk as a thing that was raising capital to grow. And I said, I was probably 25 at the time, an analyst or associate on the team. I said, I know what this is, and it's really cool, and we have to get involved. If we want to be, if we want to be in the center of the innovation economy in Silicon Valley, like we should get involved in this because it's an amazing place, and they're doing really cool work, and they have great people involved. So we ended up investing. And if you fast forward through the pandemic, through the, shutting everything down and trying to save the business and restructuring, we came out the other side where West River Group is essentially the majority owner of Singularity now. And about 3 years ago, I um, I kind of got drafted in to lead the company because the CEO that was there retired, and the board asked would I just step in and do it. And
Wow.
so that's answering a little bit of a different question than you asked. So I'll come back to the what inspires me. What inspired me at the beginning when I first learned about SU was the idea that you could use these technologies to start businesses and solve big problems.
Mhm.
And while that is still true, I think we have seen over the last 20 years that technology has the capacity to create as many problems as it solves, if if not implemented or guided correctly. If we look at what social media has done to the world, like just the internet and sort of the proliferation of information, misinformation, um, the we're finding faster and better and cheaper ways to extract more fossil fuels from the ground. I mean, there's all kinds of things that technology is doing that are maybe not having positive externalities or
Sure.
perhaps
Sure.
even greater negative externalities. So what I'm inspired about now is still the possibility that technology creates, but working with leaders and teaching leaders and governments to think about the positive, optimistic side, but also how do we build, develop, and implement these technologies wisely as leaders to make sure that we're not concentrating too much power in too few hands, or we're not leaving people behind that don't have access to the same either opportunities to invest and come along for the wealth creation that it creates, or are being negatively impacted by the technology because they're not being thought of as we're launching and building things, right? So I'm very excited about the work we're doing with some of our in the US and with other countries, some of our public sector and major corporate clients to help educate their leaders on the implications and the ethics and strategy for getting the most out of the technology, but also trying to make the wisest decisions they can.
Yeah. What an amazing backstory you have, and that finding out about Singularity University years ago and stuff, and just having this just love and appreciation for what they were doing. And then years later, being it with this, firm and having them come across your desk and you're like, oh my gosh, we got to invest in these guys,
Yeah.
and now to be actively engaged, not just as an investor, but you're far more engaged than just an investor now,
Yeah, you could say. Yeah. It's really surreal because the people that you go back and I have books on my shelf here that Bold and Abundance and the
Yep,
Singularities near these books that were written by the founders that I read when I was in college and thought,
yep,
I'm like, I look up to these authors and things, but they're these larger than life characters. They're like celebrities. And then to if you had told 22-year-old Aaron, not only will you get to meet these people someday, but they're going to be in your speed dial list and are going to be the board members that you report to every week.
yeah,
I would say I don't believe you. It's not possible. And I cannot possibly see the path from how we get to how we get from here to there. And it's like a pipe dream, right? It's the only thing I can liken it to is I grew up as a basketball fan. I was a Lakers fan. And it's like saying, oh, not only are you going to get to go to some Laker games someday, maybe even sit courtside. It's like actually 10 years from now, you're going to be working in the front office and you're
yeah,
actually going
yeah,
to be talking to the players every day and you're going to be selling tickets
yeah,
and part of the organization and be like, what are you talking
yeah,
about?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. I mean, man, I feel the same way because I would, even 5, 7 years ago, if you would have told me the kind of people that I would be hanging out with and having conversations with and being friends with and being that connector and conduit of trust for, I would have never imagined it. And yet it's just like, wow, look at these cool people we get to hang out with. And they're doing
Yeah.
such amazing and inspiring things. It's
I
so
think it really is, but I think there's an important lesson in there, which is that I've tried to learn, internalize, and to pass on, which is, all of these places, every organization, team, company, I mean, cause, political campaign, same thing. They all need and want people to help, to show up and run them. And sometimes it's as simple as raising your hand and saying, well, no, I care about this and I'll work hard on it and show up. And like, great, they need somebody to. And, the people who are passionate about it and want to be there and are put in 100% and be proactive are the people that end up, hopefully getting those opportunities.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
I think, if you could go back into detail on over the years of how I got to this point, because it was a lot of years of raising my hand and say, I would like to work on that investment. I'd like to help make it happen. I can help raise capital for it. I'll go find investors. I'd love to jump in with the team and help understand the business and do financial modeling, or, I raised my hand to go in and do the restructuring during COVID and help with the bankruptcy. And a lot of these things I was learning for the first time, but it was I was willing to do it. And if you're smart enough and willing to actually help solve some problems and you're nice and people like working with you and want you around,
yeah.
it's really not that complicated,
Yeah,
you know?
you're right. You're right. Because people just appreciate your willingness, your expertise, and like you said, that you're just nice and you just treat people, you play nice with others. It's
It sounds a little like obvious. Unfortunately, it's not.
it's not.
Um,
No.
but it also has to be genuine. I think authenticity really comes through too, especially in the world today where there's just so much BS and people you can show up as whoever you want to be online and it's really easy to position yourself as anything that you want to look like. I think people sniff out authenticity pretty quickly
Yeah,
and so it's better to pretend to be nice than if versus the alternative is just being a jerk. But it's much better to actually just be a caring person
Yeah,
that cares
yeah,
about people and
yeah.
wants to be kind because you care, not just because you're pretending.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So let's talk more about like some of the results now that you guys have helped people get and stuff. And
Hmm.
you don't have to name names. You can if you want. Totally your call. But what's a couple example of results that you guys have helped people get that you're just incredibly proud of, Aaron?
Hmm. That's a yeah, that's a good question. I It's a good question because it's we don't get to talk about a lot of it because of in particular on the custom program side or the private work that we do, companies are sensitive about sharing their innermost, either their secrets or sometimes self-conscious about the fact that, hey, we need help with innovation. We don't know anything about AI, but we don't want anyone to know that. And so we're not gonna do, case studies or things like that. I do actually have a couple of examples, but in general, the work that we're doing right now that is going really well is we are bringing teams of executive teams from companies around the world, um, whether that's in the US or in Spain, in London, in Chile, uh, most of the time bringing them to Silicon Valley
Okay.
and putting them through a few days of a combination of lectures and workshops and uh, visits to companies, to companies in the valley, whether those are big companies like NVIDIA or Amazon or Microsoft, or smaller startup teams that we find and introduce them to. And the purpose of most of these programs is to do a couple of things. One is just awareness. So oftentimes you get, whether you're a manufacturing company in Ohio or you're an automotive company in Germany, um, you don't you just don't know what is happening on the most cutting edge of technology because it might be happening, to use the classic trope, like it might be happening in a garage in Palo Alto, California, or maybe it's happening at a university laboratory in Texas, right? But you don't know what the most cutting edge technologies are or breakthroughs are happening. And even if you don't, whether or not you use them or can license them or work with them immediately, opening up your mindset and awareness of like what's even possible uh, helps these clients do their own better thinking and innovation and strategy. So we do one is just exposing them to the technology that's out there and is on the cutting edge. The second thing is actually teaching them a bit more about the technologies, in particular around AI right now. This is happening uh, all the time. Is these executives, in particular outside the technology suite, right? So the CTO maybe is one thing, but when you get into the strategy, the CEO, CFO, other chief operating lines, they are hearing all the time AI, generative AI, chat GPT, and now agentic AI. We should be using agents everywhere. And hearing about these companies, well, they just laid off 20% of their workforce because AI is cutting costs. There's so much hype that it's hard to sort through, and especially if you don't have any sort of a background, technical or any background in these technologies. Um, what we are helping them do is just gain some basic foundations and context for what these technologies actually are and are not, and what they can and can't do
Okay.
to help inform them as they're making these big decisions. Like, are you going to lay off 4,000 people because there's some magical cost saving that's going to come from using AI? Um, or are you going to invest in, some companies are racing to, okay, we need to invest in some AI startups, or we need to buy a company. Let's buy an AI company. We can integrate it. It's like most of the time that's just going to fail because you're taking a shot at something you have no idea what you're actually doing. You don't really have a strategy for how that's going to integrate or where it's going to help you. And so the metaphor that I use a lot is like, well, the principle first is you have to focus on the problem. So we
Okay.
get them to focus on the problem. Like, what are you actually trying to solve? Are you trying to automate a process to save some money? Are you trying to use AI to experiment and come up with new things? Are you trying to start a new business line or a new product? Figure out what you're actually trying to accomplish And then we can figure out what is the right tool for the job. Maybe AI will help you. Maybe it won't. Maybe you need robots, or maybe you need, quantum, maybe you need a quantum strategy, which is on the horizon. Like, so you got to start with what the problem is. I liken it to this idea of, when you have a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. Um, and right now we have this big shiny hammer in AI, which is like we're going to throw AI at everything, even if we have no idea what we're talking about. So instead, why don't we start by looking and saying, okay, are we dealing with a nail or maybe a screw or a staple? So first, let's figure out what we're trying to pull out. Then we're going to go pick the right tool for the job. Because if you use a hammer to try to get out a screw, you're going to make a big mess. You might get there, but you're going to damage a lot on the way.
You bet.
So, so
Yeah.
that's what we're spending a lot of time doing, and we are getting some great results. We just had I'll give you an example. Earlier this month, we had a massive financial company based in the UK brought their entire executive team out for a few days to the Bay Area. We did some deep dive lectures on AI, some different technologies. We paired them up with a few startups that are serving specifically financial services and doing AI implementation, building agents for wealth managers. We talked to some of the big tech companies and introduced them. In some cases, we introduced them to people at companies that they're already a client of. So it's like, I use an example like Microsoft. They may already have Microsoft Azure or AI or Copilot or whatever, and not really be using it right or not know what all the capabilities are. So it's like, why don't we just look at the technology you already have and bring in the people that built it and then talk about how maybe you could do more. So we do that. And but really the conversation that came out is they have this belief that AI is going to change everything for their industry, for financial advising and for portfolio management.
Okay.
They have no idea what they're going to do about it, but they believe if they don't do something that they're going to be gone in 5 or 10 years.
People in
And
the financial advisory space.
they're in kind of the wealth management, asset
Uh-huh.
management space. And the CEO has a lot of urgency and conviction because he knows enough to know what he doesn't know, but he believes in the exponential curve and he can see like even though it's not right in front of us,
Uh-huh.
this curve is gonna get real vertical real soon and this is going to disrupt us. And his whole leadership team is basically of the mindset of, no, we're fine. We've been here forever. Everything's going to be okay. And he brought them all to Silicon Valley to show some of the crazy stuff that's happening to try to shake them up and create a sense of urgency that they need to innovate or die. And now what we're doing is we've introduced them to some other companies that they can work with to think about innovating on their product and their systems and infusing AI into their portfolio management and their models. And we're also doing a culture change exercise now where you work through the entire company down the layers of management because the entire culture has a resistance to change. And not only do they have a resistance to change, they have a lack of awareness about what is coming. And so now we get to build an education program for their whole company to teach them about these principles of exponential change, as well as shift their mindset about how they need to be looking ahead
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's skating to where the puck is going, not
Yeah.
chasing it. Um, and in the case of exponential technology, it's like you don't even know exactly where the puck is going. You just have to make sure you're trying to go in that direction.
Yeah. 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 So and that's a whole lot different than, the leader saying, y'all need to get on board with this. It's now they've had this experience where like, oh, and so maybe they come to the realization on their own that like, okay, yes, we do need to take some definitive action here and stuff.
Yeah.
And but now their thinking around is different. Maybe now it's more like one of not of scarcity, but more of what could go back to Peter, more of one of abundance, that like there's a lot of opportunity here.
Totally. And there's tons of opportunity, but they have to understand, how to leverage the technology
Yeah,
to,
yeah,
and again, they need to focus on their own problem. The answer can't be, well, let's just start doing AI, throwing it at everything. The approach has to be like, what is the problem that we're really solving in the market? Um, what are we really good at? And is that what about that is still going to be true? in 5 or 10 years? And then how do we use the technology to make sure that we can still either serve that need that is still going to be there, or if the need's going to change, then skate to where that puck is going to be. Like
Mhm.
I think another framework I like to use, I think came from Jeff Bezos. He talks about rather than trying to figure out all the things that are going to change, is instead ask what are the things that are not going to change.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so the answer to that for Amazon was, well, we're pretty sure that no matter what happens in the world of technology, in the future, customers are still going to want better selection, fast delivery, and low prices.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can't imagine a world in which 10 years from now,
They don't care
if
about that
a
stuff.
cyborg customer says, I really love Amazon. I just wish they delivered a little slower,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
I wish they had less selection, right?
Yeah.
So if we know those things are going to be true, then we can keep optimizing for that, and then everything else is just, uh, we kind of can shift or change or evolve as we go.
Yeah.
I'll give you another.
I saw something recently. Amazon is talking about like the new benchmark is 1 hour delivery. I'm like, what? And what's crazy
Amazing.
is I live in this little small town of Arlington, Washington, 40 miles north of Seattle. We have
Yep.
this massive Amazon facility right in our neighborhood now. And so now when my wife is big on Amazon, she shops there all the time. And it's like within, like, I mean, like she'll place an order in the morning, it'll be at our house the afternoon.
Yep.
And so we really have gotten spoiled.
Oh yeah. There's you don't realize this when you're buying a house always, but there's a big benefit to living close to an Amazon distribution center
Oh,
because
yes, there is.
your options for same day delivery or next day delivery are massive compared to my parents live 45 minutes from Sacramento up in the hills. And then when I'm up there sending stuff to their house or Christmas presents or different things, I forget that they don't have, 10,000 items that can be there same day. They everything is like 2 day or 3 day delivery for them,
Yeah.
which is like,
Yeah.
yeah, such a ridiculous first world problem.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
anyway, it's really amazing to I think we underestimate, we overestimate what we can get done in a year, but we underestimate what we can get done or what can get done in 5 or 10 years. And
Yeah. Yeah.
that's how I feel all the time is looking back at what we have today to think, holy crap, just 10 years ago, if you'd said there's no way that's possible. I'm like, look how far we've come.
That's right. That's right. It is. It's absolutely mind blowing. It's absolutely mind blowing. And the speed at which this is going to continue to happen is just, I mean, it is already pretty much mind blowing, but it's just like, wow, this is just going to keep happening exponentially, you
That's
know?
the thing that's hard to understand is that as fa as much as it feels every year like things are changing faster, we're on this exponential curve that is like this, and you get to this point, but our foresight, wherever we are on the curve, even as we keep moving up on all these different curves, at any given point, your foresight looking forward is still flat, is still more flat. So it's like, oh man, we've had so much change in the last 2 years. And then if you ask people to project forward 2 years, it's still very linear most of the time,
Yeah.
rather than being, you
Yeah.
know, even the pattern they just recognize, we're not capable of projecting that same pattern forward. We
Yeah.
still are extremely linear when we look forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it's interesting. I'll give you a different example of a client we've helped or we're working on that's a little bit it's similar but kind of the opposite. It's the case of the AI happy CEO that the team is trying to rein in, right?
Okay.
And
Okay.
so it's like I said, it's similar but different. So we're working with an energy company that has a new CEO that's come in a couple of years, and he's very gung-ho about innovation and about bringing AI into everything, and has, in my opinion, taken a little bit of a kind of shotgun approach. It's like one of the first things they did was they made this company invested in an AI startup that's serving the energy industry. And so don't know what they're going to do with it. Not really sure how it integrates or anything, or if they're going to acquire the company or what, but they wanted to get involved and do something. So they made an investment in the startup. Um, and they're trying to implement AI workflows and different things across the company. And so the head of technology just came into this company. He'd worked with us before at a different company, and he got in to this new role at this new company and looked at what the CEO was doing, and he said, "I need to bring Singularity in here to like educate educate this guy and the team on um, separate a bit of the hype from the noise." So
Okay.
we need the innovation mindset and the spirit is great, but we need to lay some foundation and context on, like I said, like what's actually going to help us. And rather than just grabbing the shiny hammer for everything, we need to teach ourselves to like figure out what our problems are and find the right tool for the job. And so we're doing a program with them coming up later this year that's going to be a couple days on, again, foundational understanding of what these AI tech models actually do, what are the different areas of AI, and then also, other, simulation and robotics and, like where biotechnology might help them, kind of different technology areas that could also be relevant because it's not all just about AI.
Okay.
And I think we're going to have I think we'll be able to help a lot there because they actually have the energy and the mindset behind the change,
Mhm.
and that they have the willpower to really innovate and try things. It just needs to be sort of directed in the right way and give them a little more context
Okay.
to to direct that energy.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Yeah, it's interesting. Like both sides of the coin represented there, you know. It's
Yeah, yeah, or somewhere on it's a whole spectrum.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
There's a lot of fear too, right? We work with different branches of different militaries, and those ones, we really can't talk about, but I'll say there's a lot of fear around, these models. And as you've seen some of the just last week we had this big hack, AI driven hack, and uh it's an interesting time we're moving into where these technology companies, the technology is so sophisticated that they rival or are more powerful than the government when it comes to the technologies or the capabilities in terms of cybersecurity and things. And so um, our and other national security teams are really worried about that and looking for us to come in and educate leadership on, hey, what are we even dealing with here? And a primary focus on the risk. And so what's really fun and crazy is to try to build a program around um, what are all the scariest things that we can put in front of them. So when you come to our executive program and you learn about all these technologies and you think about like what's possible with AI and fake video creation and bio like genetic engineering, there's a lot of people that look at all this stuff and go, holy crap, this is terrifying. There's a lot to be scared of, like, and it's going to get worse. And I could build a program that would make you feel very optimistic, depending on who I put on stage and what we focus on. And I could build a program that would absolutely scare the crap out of you, and you'd
Terrify
think we're
you.
going into Black Mirror.
Yeah.
And so, with working with some of these, military clients, it's like I'm going to put the worst. I'm gonna make the scariest program possible to show you because you're interested in the risks
Yeah.
of,
Yeah.
what are all the things we need to be aware of?
I'm
What are
going to
all the
show
risks?
you some risk.
Yeah, I'm going to show you some risks for you guys to worry about. This is your job to go back and think about these
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's
yes,
interesting. I was just talking with a guy, like, I don't know, within the last 2 weeks, that he was doing a big, huge transaction, and they damn near sent $200,000 into the ether that they would have lost forever. And it was a whole this AI thing, you know.
oh yeah,
And he said, we luckily we caught it, but he's like, man, that 2,000 or $200,000 could have been gone, you know. And so, yeah.
I unfortunately have a friend runs a business who they just lost it was 1.3 million
Wow.
dollars
Wow.
purely through a social engineering, a phishing scam. It was their bookkeeper got a call on the phone and convinced them that it was the FBI and the Treasury Department and whatever, and put her under duress, and um, essentially they were able to get someone to wire money out to an account that was totally fraudulent. And were able to they were able to recover, I think, 400,000 or something so far just through the bank and the FDIC, but it's really bad. I mean, that was a multi-$100,000 scam, not even really using sophisticated technologies even. It was pretty straightforward. So,
Yeah. Wow.
yeah, we I heard about that and I said, okay, we need to do a little training with the team to make sure that we're all extra vigilant all the time. It doesn't hurt to refresh
Yeah.
yourself against the
Yeah.
risks.
Yeah. Wow, you got my mind going, Aaron, and I'm just thinking, like, you know what? There's some people I'm going to share this interview with. so,
Yeah,
so
I come to Singularity. I'm like I said, I'm not an expert myself really on any of these technologies. I just have the privilege to lead a team that that makes these programs, and we have a faculty of over 150 experts in all these different technology domains that we bring in, and it's SU is interesting. We're not a traditional university because kind of by definition, the things that we teach are not old enough or peer reviewed enough or in textbooks because they're
yeah,
on the cutting edge,
yeah,
right? So,
yeah,
you can't the kind of things that we're teaching, we're bringing in the people that are actually building these technologies
yeah,
to teach about them because that's where it's happening. It's happening in industry and in labs and in startups and sometimes in academia, but so we don't have a traditional faculty because we kind of can't.
yeah, yeah. It totally makes sense. Well, we'll make sure before we're done, we'll make anybody that is like right now thinking like, man, I need to talk to somebody. We'll make sure we try to steer them in the right direction and stuff. And
Yeah, of course.
so, well, okay. So now that we've got some context set here, and depending on who's listening to this, maybe we've gotten them pretty excited. Maybe we kind of got them riled up and starting to scare the crap out of them a little bit. You know? but, but I want to switch gears
That's the
just a
common
little
that's
bit.
the common reaction, yeah.
Yeah. And I want to talk a little bit about the relationship side of all of this. And so, Aaron, have you ever been introduced to a person or persons who completely changed the course of your life or your business, so much so that much of what you have today would not be possible if not for this person or persons? And I'm just really excited to hear your story and your experience around this topic of relationships.
Yeah, that's an easy answer for me, because my whole story is inextricably, you know, intertwined with another, uh, who's my mentor and the guy who gave me all these opportunities. His name is Eric Anderson. He's the founder of West River Group, which is our investment firm, and it really was, like you said earlier, it was just an introduction that turned it was pretty chance and it changed my entire life. So
Okay.
when I was in college, I was trying to figure out what I want to do. I had some internships and I was graduating. I didn't have a job lined up, but I wanted to go into finance. I'd given up on physics at this point. I said, instead, I'm going to go into investing and I'm just going to invest in the people that can do the science because clearly I was not capable. And and so I was looking for a job in finance somewhere, and I I had met one of the board members of my school. I went to Whitworth University in Spokane, uh, and little school in the middle of nowhere. I mean, yeah, you're in Washington, so
Yep.
I was over in North Spokane. Not a big connection to Wall Street, not a
Yeah.
booming financial industry in Spokane or barely even in Seattle, And so I was trying to get out of there, but having no luck. And I had lunch. I grabbed in the lunchroom at the college this guy who was on the board of the university. And I said, "Hey, I'm Aaron and whatever, I'm a senior. Like, would you have lunch with me sometime?" Um, because I knew he was a executive at a company in town in Spokane and he was, yeah, well connected and nice guy. So we had lunch and told him my whole story and he shared a lot of advice and had kind of became a mentor. But the thing that came out of that was after the lunch, he said, I know this guy in Seattle. He used to be on the board of our company. He's an investor. I don't really know what he does. I just have a feeling you guys would get along well. Like I think I just have this feeling that he'll like you. I don't even know what business he's in, but I'm
Wow.
gonna introduce
Wow.
you because I have this feeling. So he introduces me over email, and my meeting with Eric, who he introduced me to, it was less than 5 minutes, my first call with him.
Okay.
I remember where I was sitting in the college library, and he said, "Hey, how can I help you? Jason likes you. Happy to help. Like, what do you need?" And I said, "Oh, I'm looking." I start telling him my whole story, and he's like, "No, no, no, stop." He's like, "I want to help you. Do you need money? Do you need a job? Do you need an internship? Like, what do you need?" Like, oh, okay. I'm looking for an internship this summer. It's like, great. You can come work with me this summer. Ryan, I'll call you. All right, bye.
Wow.
Like that was it. Like, okay. So a couple weeks later, I get a call from a guy that worked for him and said, "Hey, so Eric said you're going to work with us this summer. Like, tell me about yourself. You know, what do you want to and everything?" And I'm like, "I don't even know what you guys do." And so I showed up for the summer. It was in Kirkland, Washington, and it was a three-person investment firm. They had some
So
family
what
office.
year was this, Aaron? It was this
This
what
was
year?
2014.
2014. Okay. 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 So you showed up there.
Turned out it was a small VC fund. They had
Yeah.
some investors, and they were investing on behalf of these family offices in start in innovation. They were doing, technology, life sciences, entertainment, like they're investing in startups. And so I just went in for the summer and did some research projects and helped a little bit and learned some. And then I went off, I went to school in the fall because I got into a master's program in finance. And they said, okay, good luck, have a nice life. Um, and I was in school, and then I'm back at the drawing board recruiting Morgan Stanley and private equity firms and trying to figure out what I'm going to do. And I say in around October, Eric called me and said, "Hey, actually, if you want a job, you can come back. I've got a job for you. I'm taking over this company called Topgolf, and we just made a big investment, so now we're like the majority investor, and I've decided I'm going to put myself in as the CEO, and we're going to scale this thing. And I need somebody to crunch numbers and be like my right hand guy."
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
and so he's like, "Can you start right now?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm in the middle of a master's program that I got a full tuition scholarship for. I'm not going to leave this, but I can start working part time." And then he's like, "All right, I'll send you a laptop. You can start working now. And then as soon as you graduate, you know." And so I started working part time, finished my degree, and then 2 weeks after graduation, I was in Seattle. And that I've is in a way been the only job I've ever had is
Wow.
working with Eric. So we took Topgolf from 90 million in revenue to when we sold it, it was a little over 1.1 billion. And so it got sold to Callaway, and now it's been sold again to private equity firm. And I was the chief of staff for like 6 years, working on finance and strategy and operations and growth and everything, like the right hand to the CEO. So that's where I really learned everything I know, watching him be a leader and build a company. And along the way, he gave me opportunities to invest in, do deals like invest in Singularity and other companies that we've invested in portfolio, join boards, work with management teams. He really gave me a lot of agency to make mistakes, to learn, to get in and get my hands dirty on things. And along the way, of course, coaching and managing, coaching me and mentoring.
Yeah.
And all the way up to the point where, this Singularity was the first one where he said, "Okay, you're ready, go, you're going to go in and do it." And,
Wow. Wow.
and I was 30 at the time, I
Wow.
think. Uh, yeah.
Wow. So,
So that one introduction of the random lunch that I had with Jason, who introduced me to Eric,
yeah.
5 minute conversation, of course, radically, I mean, has changed the course of my entire life, right?
Yeah.
It's like people who have influenced me is like there's my parents and then there's Eric. And
Yeah.
we still, we talk basically every day. And I help run the our investment firm, West River Group, where I'm a partner now, and I run two of our portfolio companies, and
So are they
I
still in Kirkland and stuff?
Uh, yeah, we moved to downtown Seattle for a bit. Now we're
Okay.
back to We're remote, all remote right now,
Huh?
but I think we're gonna, but there's most of the team is still in Seattle. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Wow. So, man, what a story. What an
Yeah.
amazing story.
It feels very, it was extremely lucky. I mean, I caught a crazy lucky break of just meeting the right person at the right time. And but you have to pair that with the hard work too, right? I mean, I took advantage of it and I worked my butt off. I mean, I worked 60 to 80 hours a week for 5+ years, and some weeks were 100. Like, and that sounds like an exaggeration, but anybody that's worked in investment banking knows it's not. It's possible. And so I sacrificed a lot in my 20s, but I obviously it created a lot of opportunity for me, and now I have, and I found a little bit more balance because I've got a wife and a kid, and but I'm still working with the same team I started with 12 years ago, and my partners, but get to lead another team now at Singularity and put into practice all the things that I learned.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for anybody that's listening to this, and like I said, maybe we've inspired them, maybe we've excited them, maybe we've scared the crap out of them a little bit. and
No, come
but
on.
now whatever they're feeling right now, they're like, man, I need to find out more. I know this AI stuff, man, so much going on. And
Yeah.
maybe I'm behind. Maybe I feel I'm with it a little bit. Maybe I feel I'm cutting edge, and I want to do more and stuff. Um, any like,
I
what do you suggest, Aaron?
I suggest just focus on the problem. Like, I think, especially if you're in California and you're around kind of the tech scene and AI, like, there's this huge pressure to, you've got to be, you know, doing it. You got to be up on all the latest tools and you got to be using AI for everything. And if you're not building agents to run your life and your calendar and make your content, like, there's this huge pressure to just do all the things and be on top of everything. And I think that's total crap. Like, one, you're never going to be on top of everything. You're never going to keep up. It's just a constant change all the time. Uh, and there's always more tools and there's always better models and there's always blah, blah, blah. So it's like, um, what is the point of any of these technologies or any of those tools if they're not helping you do an actual thing that matters that you care about? Like if it's not actually making your life better, if it's not actually helping you build the business you're trying to build or the mission that you have. And so my advice is like take a step back from the chat window for a few minutes and think about like what am I actually trying to do? Whether that's in my personal life, I'm trying to have more efficient grocery shopping, or I don't want to spend as much time managing my calendar, or like in your business, think about the business you're actually trying to build and just step away from the hype for a second and relieve yourself of the pressure of needing to feel like you're behind because you're not using AI for everything, right? Just go back to the basics of what you're actually trying to do and then figure out if there's a way a tool can help you. That's great. But like the tools themselves are it's not a they're a means to an end. They're not the end themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of time and effort wasted on just productivity theater and technology theater of like performative building of systems and automating and all these things that are a lot of it's a waste of time. Um, so I think go touch some grass and read an actual physical book and think about the problem you're really trying to solve for yourself or your family, and then figure out maybe how the tech can help you.
Okay. And so after somebody's done that, any website, any resources they can go check out or anything?
Um, I mean, I do spend a lot of time on YouTube. Just
Okay.
like there's so many great people out there that are creators, making videos all the time, breaking down what's out there and what's coming out and what's working and what are they doing. And I think there's a lot of good inspiration and a lot of good education out there. But again, it can start to feel overwhelming, like a slippery slope of like I have to consume all of this and keep up with everything all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't think you do. There's one website I use when I'm looking for a tool. There's something called Future Tools.
Okay.
I have no relationship with them. I'm just a happy customer.
Okay.
It's called futuretools.io.
.io.
And
Okay.
I think they do a good job of like if you're looking for, you know, an AI tool for whatever video editing, audio, making bedtime stories for your kid, like whatever it is, I've been happy with that one.
I'm going to check it out myself. So very cool. Well, Aaron, is there any last thing that you feel led to share before we call it a wrap?
Um, you know what? There's something I want you to share. Last time we talked, you told me something that I really resonated with me that I want to write down again that I think your audience should hear, which was it was something about trust, about
Is the four, yeah,
uh, alignment of values and
yeah.
trust.
So, because, because I get to be this connector and conduit of trust for some really amazing entrepreneurs. And I bring the right people together to have the right conversations just leads to new business taking place, new revenue getting created. And but there's four things that have to be present in order for me to be able to do that. So there needs to be trust and character, there needs to be trust and competence, and then there needs to be alignment of interests and alignment of values. And when those four things are present, that's the magic spot. That's the sweet spot. That's the intersection right there, where
Yeah.
that's where, I mean, business just flows easily, organically. Stuff can happen quickly because everybody's in alignment on everything,
Hmm.
so and there's just that trust there, and and so that's always the environment that I strive to create for the people in my life, is just get them under my umbrella. And I'm
Hmm.
very intentional about who I let under that umbrella, because curation is absolutely everything. And then once they're there, I've done it, for 22 years, I've just used this really simple little litmus test because I've been making introductions for people for that long. And it's always been, when I make this introduction, is this going to help me further the relationship that I already have with both of these people? And just that little simple litmus test over 22 years has allowed me to create a whole lot of relationship capital with a whole lot of the right people. And now, I mean, I'm really blessed to, like, I can open some pretty awesome doors for the right people, and
That's
so,
awesome.
and I love
Well,
being that guy. I love holding that role.
yeah,
It's,
that's awesome. Trust and character and competence and alignment of interests and values.
yeah,
That's huge. That really resonated with me because I think incentives, I just think incentives are everything, and I work really hard in our businesses to align incentives and
yeah,
interests. And so,
yeah,
but the thing that spoke to me was that in that you made explicit that I think has always been implicit is also the trust, the alignment of values and trust and character,
yeah, yeah,
And I think that's something that I think about, but I don't really say out loud. So I liked your that was what I wanted to share was what you had shared with me.
yeah. Well, Aaron, it has been an absolute honor doing this interview, and I mean, thank you for taking the time to have this conversation today. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate
Oh yeah.
you, and I'm excited to get this out there and share it with folks. Man.
Oh,
So,
well, I mean, you just, it was certainly my pleasure, and you let me talk about myself the whole time. So, I
well, there you
really,
go.
I appreciate it.
You
And
bet.
I hope it is helpful to at least one person.
Absolutely. I'm counting on a few more than one. So,
Yeah, it's great.